Okay, so we're going to read this section, and I just want to, before we read it, so he's been predicting his death, and and now it's really the last discourse before he does this, before he's killed on the cross. And so notice when he says he's going to be glorified, that he's talking about his death. Just notice that. And we'll read that now. So when he had gone out, Jesus said, "Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him immediately. Little children, I can be with you a little while longer. You will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, where I am going, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, where are you going?" Jesus answered him, "Where I am going, you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterward." Peter said to him, "Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for your sake." Jesus answered him, "Will you lay down your life for my sake? Most assuredly I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you have denied me 3 times. Okay, guys, we could get started. Maybe a shorter class tonight, and it looks like about half the people are missing tonight, either sick or out of town. So first thing I want to say is both my front teeth are fake, because when I was a kid I got punched in the stomach and I passed out, and they broke off and died. So they're replacements. So Jill says it was a couple years ago, but I thought a few months ago my daughter's head hit it, one of them, and it loosened it. So now it finally fell out. So I have no front tooth. So just be aware, because I'm going to try not to laugh and smile, but there's no way. So hello, YouTube. Okay, so here's what I want to say about this scripture. So we know now Jesus he's been predicting his death. His disciples really still don't get it. They really still don't get it. Maybe some of them are starting to, but it's still weird to them. They're going to be absolutely heartbroken when Jesus is crucified. And as if to really let that set in, Jesus stays dead 3 days, right? So they just let him. He just lets the disciples just be torn apart by this, and lose all hope. And he lets them do this. But he speaks of this coming crucifixion as his glorification. You have to think about that. You have to, as a Christian mystic, you have to think about that. The celebration, the power of death, and what that means to us. What does it mean to us? And and listen to the language too. It's just rich. This is so rich, this section again. Speaking about his death, he says, if God is glorified in him, God will glorify him in himself. And what in the heck is he saying? But so there's something about Jesus' death, okay, that is going to glorify God profoundly, right? And if it does, then Jesus will also be glorified. Think of that. And you can't escape that if you're, there's never a time in the Christian journey where death is not part of the journey. There's just, I'm so far from the night now that it's almost a polar opposite of where I was in the night. But yet, today I'm cold all day. I don't know if it seems warm in here. I have it turned up to 78 or 9 degrees. I'm cold. Why? Because today they're purifying me. Today. So even though I'm so far from the night, I'm a long way past the night. But even though that's the case, today is a day of intense purification. But not, it's hard to explain. It's nothing like the night. It's very different. But it's purification. And I always get cold when I'm being purified, and I'm always hot when I'm on the glory side of things. So, but who cares? The point I'm trying to make is, some of you are in that stage where it's primarily about the death. It's primarily about that. It's all about dying to ego. And there's a way in which you can do that glorifies God. There's a way in which you can do that if it glorifies God, it's also going to glorify you. Because it's going to reveal God's healing power. It's going to reveal God's miracle power. It's going to make you into someone. Let's say what John of the Cross said of anyone on the other side of the night. Most of them will never feel jealousy again in their life. Never. If they ever feel jealousy, ever, on the other side of the night, it will never, ever be, there will never be, he said it's rare. If anyone's on the other side of the night, it's rare for them to ever feel jealousy. But if someone did, their jealousy would never have a negative feeling towards the person they're jealous of. At the very worst, it would only be, what's wrong with me? Why won't I just let God help me grow? So think of the miracle of that. Think of that means that a person on the other side of the night can take great pleasure in someone having much more success than them. Much more. Think about that. You have to think that's a bit of a miracle. That's a bit of a miracle. It's a radical transformation in the human being. They're really someone else now. They have died to themselves in a profound way. That glorifies God. But Jesus also says it will glorify the person too. And what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of things that means. But what is the death? We'll do first, what is the death? And I wasn't going to go very deep into the death, but it just feels like I should. So just think of this. Jesus Christ is God who became a human being, right? That's Jesus. So God itself took form and became human, but with a goal, with an intent, with a reason for becoming human. And the reason is to represent humanity. To represent humanity. To be humanity's representative on the planet. Think about that. So, and from the Old Testament, God sees us all as one. God sees us all as connected. So now you've got this person, this real human being, God, who became human, living on the planet for us. To do something for us. And one of the things he does is he hooks himself up to all of our sin. So even though Jesus didn't have any personal sin of his own, they say he must have felt temptation, but that he never ever sinned. So he was fully human in the sense that he had the weakness of temptation, but he never acted on it. But what he did do was hook himself up mystically to everyone's sin on the planet. So he carried that in himself. And the night that you go through to die to your sin is a participation in the night that Jesus went through to die to all of humanity's sin. And obviously the intensity of Jesus holding all of humanity's sin in himself and dying to it must have been far greater than any one individual person's sin would be. But he did this as a representative for humanity, to take whatever it is. We know it's pride and anger and jealousy and lust, and we know what the sin is. But it's also, pride is so easy to overlook. Pride, you really start thinking about pride, you find it in every sin. You find it everywhere, because pride is that I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out. I don't need help. That is pride. That basic stance of I'll handle it myself is pride. And the reason why it's so destructive is because we were designed to we were designed as beings to live in union with God. And to say I'll do it myself is the same as saying, get away from me, God. So pride is a stance, like a general stance of I'll handle it myself. And that stance it can be unconscious, but it is a permanent block to God's presence in our lives. And I don't know how everyone here was raised. I was raised poorly in some ways and well in others. But, a man, my father taught me that a man takes care of himself. He doesn't need help. You take care of business yourself. Suck your gut in, stand up straight, and handle things. That's from day one. I was taught that. And there's some good in it, but it also immediately begins to shed God away from you. To push God away. Think of that. Because we're supposed to be in profound receptivity to God's presence. The beginning of Jesus' teaching, the beginning of the way into union with God with Jesus is poverty of spirit. You don't know the way. You can always tell a newcomer from someone that's been on the path a long time, because new people are really interested in letting you know how far they've already come. They can't stop it. They just always like trying to show how much they know. And yes, I know that. And I've been doing this for like 3 months and I really know. And then you get someone 10 years in and they never talk like that. Never. You just never hear someone on the path a while saying, yes, I know. They say, I don't know. Because they've gained some poverty of spirit. A new person sees poverty of spirit as something that happens to new people, and then you move on to where you know. And a person that's been on the path realizes it's a permanent state of affairs and not something to be embarrassed about, right? It's something to be, it's such a relief when you don't know. It's such a relief when you don't have it. If not knowing and not having is still embarrassing, then you're pre-night. You're pre-night. Other side of night, you realize it's a permanent state of affairs, going to have it your whole life. And you're grateful for it because it brings deep peace. Just brings deep peace. End scandal. There's no scandal. You're not surprised if some new character defect shows up you didn't know about for 20 years and it's the worst one you have. And you're not bummed out about it because you have got poverty of spirit. You say, okay, I didn't know, and I'm not surprised, and it's okay. So Jesus is fully human and fully God. He dies to our sin. This is what he's going to do. This is the mystery of salvation, and he doesn't just symbolically die in the way that we do. He physically dies with our sin in him. And, there's all these scriptures. He puts death to death. He takes all of that into literal death. And this is God meditating on humanity. That you can look at Jesus' whole life as a meditation on humanity by just becoming human and doing it. Like, think of that. The scriptures say he pays a debt. And you think, well, God's loving and forgiving. There can't really be a debt. What could the debt possibly be? But just step back from that language, okay? And think about the process of repentance you have been through in your life for things. And think of it when it's been holy, not just shame-based or guilt-based. But think about when you've actually let God heal something for real over a period of a year or so. Think of the scripture calls that debt, payment. Yes, you're forgiven, but every bit of that ugliness has got to come out, and you feel it on the way out. This is the debt Jesus pays. So think, when you're going through your process of purification and it burns sometimes, it's uncomfortable, just remember Jesus. He took all of that from every human being on the planet onto himself and experienced all of that. And if you allow Christ in to your healing, because you don't have to do it all yourself, because you're willing to do it, then he eases that process for you. He makes what would have been much more painful and much more difficult easier. Because you're participating in his salvation for you that's complete, rather than making it happen yourself. That's salvation from Jesus. We're, God sees us all as one. In a way, we're entangled. I don't know if you've heard of quantum entanglement in quantum physics. It's not really a direct correlation, but you do something with an electron over here, and 18 miles away at the exact same time, it changes there. We're entangled. So when God becomes human and becomes humanity's representative and overcomes sin completely, in some way it is done for everyone, for everybody. Okay, so why? To what end? We know for sure what the end is with Christianity, and it's love. It's love. And think how a person who has jealousy can't love, right? Think of a person who is envious, can't love. Think of a person who's ambitious, they can't love. Think of all the sins that Christianity says are the main problem that gets in the way of humanity. They all kill love. That's what they do. They kill love. Even self-reliance, that rugged self-reliance, is hard, and love is soft. Self-reliance is me, I, and love is all. See, so if you think of all the sins in relationship to love, you can start seeing a direct reasoning why they would all stand in the way. And that's why Christianity is like, look, we know what's wrong with you. We think you want to look at all these theories about what's wrong with you based on what the world says. But we're just telling you right now, you're meant to be in union with God. Here's what's in the way. Fix this and all your problems go away. Fix this one thing, come back into union with God. As you come back into union with God, all of your other problems will resolve. Because ultimately the root of them is a lack of power. The root of them is you're not hooked up to God without all these breaks in your soul, keeping you from it. That's it. That's all it is. And it's super simple and basic. It's not very complex. It can look really complex. It gets complex in its expressions and in its unwinding, but the fixing of it is so directly simple. Okay, so I wanted everyone else in the room for this other part because now I'm talking to the air kind of in a way. But so I'm going to change it. So I've been talking about meditation, okay? And I was talking about how the group got a little out of control for a while there. There was a lot of movement going on and stuff. And it's like, you're not meditating if you're moving. You're just not. And you're not meditating if you're clearing your throat. And you're not meditating if you're sneezing and coughing. And you're certainly not meditating if you're itching. You're just not. And so, the group got a little, not everyone, but, the group just got a little out of control with it. And and then God nailed me and made it so I could hardly meditate, which has been incredible. I mean, I will have a whole class on it soon. I've learned so much about meditation in the last 2 weeks, being unable to do it and having to it's amazing. It's like, I've been doing this for a long time. So, but now twice now on my journey, they've removed my ability to meditate and made me forget everything I knew. It happened at the first 10-year period. Someone came in, put that lid on my head, and I was unable to meditate. Nothing I had learned was useful. And they just did it again. And everything I know is useless. Whatever I've been doing the last 14 years to get in, the ways I've been in, all utterly useless. Nothing. If I try them, I just sit there and spin my wheels till I stop trying them. So then, what do? Well, if I was newer, I'd cry about it and complain and get mad. But I haven't done that. I'm not frustrated, but I just think, whoa, I'm pretty messed up. I mean, without these tricky ways in and all this grace, it's not so nice up here. But all I had to do is think, okay, I'm focusing a certain way. I've got to find a new way in. I got to find a new way in. So then I just started just feeling, the space. And if I got really focused, too narrowly focused, they wouldn't let me in. So then I told Mary I had it figured out. It was close, but I wasn't there. I had to think of the whole world. If I just held the whole world with me, I could get in. But then they refined that, and it's like if I had the whole world, they wouldn't let me in. But if I was narrow, I couldn't get in. And so it was like somewhere between pinpoint of focus and cosmic. Somewhere in there, they'd start letting me get in. But then it wasn't enough then either. Then they wouldn't let me get in even if I found that part right. That was the first part I figured out. So I found where they want me. It has to be we, but it can't be so connected to the world. I'm with streets and cars because it's gross. So not that we. So it had to get smaller. But it couldn't be pinpoint focus because that's sort of almost like no one. And that wasn't it. Really tricky, and it sounds like, whoa, how'd you figure all that out? Well, just suffering. They'd get me up at 3 a.m. I couldn't get back to sleep, and I couldn't freaking meditate. So it's like, just try. And it'd be 4:30 or 5 when I'd get in. I'd figure something out, And then, 1 hour from now, Cassidy's getting up, and I've got to get up with her. And, whoa. So, okay, but then, and this is all for you guys. It is for me, but I realize it is for the community too. And that's why we notice this craziness all at the same time. It's perfect time to remind people meditation is, look, you have to stop thinking. You have to stop. And if you don't stop, it's okay, but you have to spend every last second stopping when you're meditating. First of all, that's it. You have to stop. And if you can't stop, that's cool. But you spend the entire time stopping. You don't just give up on that and say, you got to stop. But it's not just thoughts. What they're doing with me may not apply to you directly, but it's like, look, you can go in upset. You can go in self-pity. I think I've seen people with pure self-pity on their face while meditating. I think I've seen it. That's not clearing your mind. Your mind isn't just thinking. Your mind is your whole space. Your whole space. Your whole attitude space. Your disposition. I used that word the other day. Chase just went off on it. He's like, oh my gosh, my disposition is poor, he said. He said, I've been thinking about that word disposition all the time because I have a poor disposition. And I thought, yeah, man, you're like me. You're hot-blooded, He gets caught in these things, And so think of your disposition. You're supposed to be clearing that too. Clearing that. You're not going in there whining. You're not going in there in self-pity. You're not going there in tears. I mean, there's exceptions to this. because you're way on the path and sometimes you're going to take tears in with you. But you know what? You have to put that aside. This is time for God. This is time for God. So you put self-doubt aside. You put self-pity aside. You put depression aside. You put anger aside. You're not just trying to clear your mind, you're clearing your heart. Your heart too. All that, go. It's okay if you can't get it clear. But the whole time is spent trying to clear it. That's the whole time. And consider your emotional space as part of mind that must be recentered. So what I found out with me is it's like, look, if I don't go into love, they won't let me in. That's kind of how it comes down. And so think of the three theological virtues, the ones that are directly related to God: peace, joy, or love. Those are the three theological virtues: peace, joy, love. Oh no, faith, hope, charity. Thank you. But think of peace, joy, and love. Think of that. Peace, joy, love. The greatest of these is love. At minimum, you're aiming for peace. But you don't fix your problems to get there. You stop being addicted to them to get there. You can pick them up when you get up if you want. It's okay. They'll be there when you're done. But for that hour of time, you put it away. You put that stuff away. And only attention on God and attention on nothing else. With all the caveats of it doesn't really matter if you get quiet. It just only matters that you're actually trying, because if you're not meditating. That's the thing. If you're not really interrupting that and going towards this at least peace, right? At least peace. You're not really meditating. You might be doing inventory. You might be doing processing. You might be doing something, but you're not meditating. Think of that. And I hope this doesn't feel heavy, because the class is meant to be super inspiring in this way. There's literally no space between you and enlightenment. There's literally none. There's literally no time between you and enlightenment. In a way, it is fair to say, there is no process between you and enlightenment. There's only cutting through all the lie. Cutting through all what you're generating that is so loud you can't notice God fully present with you. Think of that. There's nothing between you and God. There's no distance, none. There is no time, none. There is only God's full presence in union with you now, underneath or behind or quieter than, however you want to make a statement about it, the noise. And that's, remember when I was meditating 8 hours straight, because I got initiated into God's love, God in the silence. I found the Father in the silence. But if you guys remember, I said what was so surprising was nothing changed. I was just sitting there like I always do, and then all of a sudden now I can look back and see the clouds parted, all of what I'm running, whatever it is, however subtle, parted. And nothing changed. It was astounding. I didn't move. I didn't rocket forth. I didn't feel something descend upon me. I became aware of what was there. What was already there. And I want you guys to know that, man. There's nothing stopping you. that, I hope it motivates you when you sit down to just say, look, I can pick up my stuff when I get up if I want. I can go back to being self-determining. I can go back to taking care of business. You can go back to whatever you want to run. Just run it all. Go ahead. But maybe just for a half hour, you could put every ounce of your attention into stopping all that. Just that's kind of like what meditation is. One lens is to think of it just as cutting through the lie. The lie that Christ is not with you. The lie that God isn't living in your soul. Right? That's a lie. That's a lie. It's the whole New Testament. I mean, it's either made up or it isn't. All it's saying is God has got you now where you're at. You don't have to get perfect first. So it's either there or it isn't. And it is there. And if it's there, then it's like, I mean, maybe it'll take you time to cut through and stop returning to the noise. Maybe it will. But there's really literally no reason for that other than our own self. Think of that. So then you're sitting down with the real chance of cutting through completely and having direct encounter with God. Right then, tonight. Not in 10 years. Now. That's something. And you know, the only people I was going to say might have a little hard time if they're right directly in the night, but I even think they could cut through too. I do. I think it would be okay if you just cut through anyway. If you're supposed to be working through all that, they'll bring it back for you. You're not going to forget to pick up your... No one's going to forget to pick up their woe is me, you know. No one's going to forget that. We might forget a lot of other really, you know, I'll forget a client, but I'm not going to forget my woe is me. You know, I'm not going to forget, I'll forget you. I'm not going to forget me, man. I'll remember to pick it up, you know. Like, you know, you're not going to forget about it. You can have it all back. But could you just put it down the whole time you meditate? Could you just put it away? Knowing that any number of direct encounters with God is just sitting there awaiting you to put it down. Because there's nothing else. If you stop all that, there's only one thing left, and it's actual reality. It's what's true. That's what's left. That's what's left. And it's not far away. It isn't far away. It's right there. Right there. And that's how John of the Cross attained the fullness of enlightenment in 4 years. 4 years. He just put, you know, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. I've complained about him. I've had conversations recently about him. He's like, don't take joy in the world, just turn to God only. It's like, dude, you lived in like the 12th century. What are you not looking at? There's no billboards. There's no like shows to watch. There's no women in bras on billboards, you know, to distract you while you're driving. Like, what? All the women are covered up. You know, he's like not looking at flowers because he doesn't want to get distracted. And I think that's extreme, and I don't think that works for everyone. But think what he was doing, though. He was just saying, every second of my moment, every single moment of my life, I'm cutting through. And I'm cutting through until I'm permanently cut through, and that's what he did. That's all he did. Think of that. So think of meditation as your ability to sit down directly and cut through. To just cut right through. And I keep trying to say this so it doesn't scare someone's ego. You're allowed to go back to your ego when you get done. It's okay. But you could cut through for this time, but what's so powerful about that is when you cut through, it's so wonderful. You don't want to go back so much to it. You don't want to. It's Clyde had this one as he got older. He was really on fire, but also a little like sick of the world, you know. And I would just say you notice the slightest grumpiness in him about the world. You know, just he said it was a chicken shit world. And you know, when they took my recently ability to get in away completely again, I noticed this. That I noticed that it might be a particularly male thing. I don't know, but just a little. I just had to stop doing this. A little. Just you know, the shit's gonna break down. The furnace is gonna go out, and you know, the guy comes and he wants $8,000, and it's like I don't even know if he's telling the truth. Just you know, it's just a little bit of the world sometimes, you know, and I couldn't get in unless I put that away, and I didn't know I was running that. Either it was a little subtle, you know. Put everything away till there's nothing. Nothing. You're holding nothing. Nothing at all. Except focus on God and nothing else. And then think how if self-centeredness is the problem, right? Self. Christianity says it's all self. Me, me, me. Can you think of anything more direct than putting all of it away completely for a half an hour? That is a direct cure to the problem. It's a direct antidote to the whole problem. Me, me, me. Think of that. You can get, you know, everyone has to renew their meditation. It's not just us Christian mystics, you know. Everyone has to, like, if you do it every day for years, it can become routine, and you can, like, not realize you're carrying all that in with you when you're not supposed to be. You know, it's like, remember I would say to people, I probably said this to you guys in one-on-one, you could do some inventory at first, but then put that away and meditate. But you know, it's easy to slip in there and just inventory your way in, which is really just think of yourself until you get in by sheer grace, which is good too, man. That's good too. But how about cut through it? Cut through it. Cut through it. There's God right there, not far away. Not a long time away. I just want to say one more thing, but I don't know how to say it yet. It's tricky. You're under his influence, you know. So if you're thinking about yourself, you won't be forever. If you're doing that, if I say cut through and you don't, you'll stop eventually because you're in God's grace, you're in Christ's healing. You're going to get there. There's like a slow inevitability that I really believe in. It's the salvation of Christ, and you're getting saved either way. So don't sweat it, man. But also you're under Christ, and so you have death and you have resurrection and you have ascension living in you all at once. You have a bona fide master in Christ who can and will take you all the way into union, and maybe you're in union in a few months from now if you really try. Maybe there's nothing stopping you from cutting through quickly. That's motivating, I think. I want it to be motivating. And, you know, so it's been great for me the last few weeks. I've had periods that were hard, but since this new thing they're teaching me, and I'm remembering I kind of used to do more of this kind of thing the first 10 years, really. It's just when I got into the night, they wanted me to shut up, and how I got in the night was this. I would get really humble and move into holy sorrow, and that's how I would get in. And some of you, if you're in the night, you'll say, yes, that does work for me. If I get humble, and it's like they're rewarding what they want you to practice, right? That's the thing. They're rewarding what they want you to practice. So there's no way, like for the Christian system, there's no way to say, just do it this way or just do it this way, because it has mostly to do with what the Holy Spirit is doing in you. But holy sorrow has nothing to do with self-pity. You can cut through that, right? There's a way to cut through, even in the night, that cuts through a lot of stuff you're carrying around with you while you're there. So no matter what stage, no matter what energy they're shining on you, you can cut through with it. Humility does not have to be self-centered. Well, it isn't, actually. Holy sorrow is not self-pity. Inventory is not obsessively thinking about your problems, right? Meditation is not a time for inventory. Inventory for inventory, meditation for meditation. Process my emotions, yes, but not the whole time. Cut through. My opinion is the center will produce lots of saints. Well, don't wait. Go. Don't wait. There's a Zen saying, if not now, when? Right? There's so much truth to that. Like, when? You're just cutting through. That's all you're doing is just cutting through. You're not creating God. You're not creating bliss. You're just cutting through what's in the way of that all that's already there. It's kind of more of a simple job, really. It's simple. And then the last thing, which I don't talk about enough, and I just don't. I don't know why. And I always say that, then I do it once, and I don't talk about it for 6 months. But when you walk to your car tonight, how about cut through while you're walking to your car? How about don't go back to whatever you do? Someone's going to mope to their car. Someone else is going to assuredly walk out under self-direction to their car. How about you don't do that? How about you take it easy, man? How about you stay cut through on the way to your car? And be something different than what you're being. Then you'll realize you're addicted to it at some point, because you might even notice your mouth watering a little for wanting to go back. Like, just please, I can't wait to go back to just moping. When you try it, you'll just try to get rid of thought, and there's a song running in your head, you'll get rid of that. And then you'll notice all these things you're still doing with your emotions. Dude, I'm sometimes being intense. It's in the way. I'm realizing how in the way it is. So then I have to soften, relax more. I realize I'm not relaxed. I'm intense. And that's got to go, but I got to stay focused. So, I'm just counting my number or saying Jesus or whatever I'm doing, but I'll just notice these layers that have got to be let go of. A little bit of the chicken shit world, I got to let go of that subtle energy. The little things you're doing, you don't even notice you're doing them. but they're not love, and they're not joy, and they're not peace. You don't have to generate love, joy, or peace. You have to stop what's in the way. And I think that this is the last thing. That while you're doing that seriously, I think it's really easy to fall into whatever God is shining on you. You're cutting through the noise, the mental noise and the emotional noise that makes it so you can't hear what God's doing in you, what is happening. You don't even, almost really even have to look for that thing that is happening, that what is happening. It's just what's there if you cut through.